Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajakachaja Ashtottara Satashi Madhav Bhai Charanaravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajakachaja Ashtottara Satashi Srimad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki. All glories to some devotees. All glories to some devotees. All glories to some devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashtabhre Shabadeshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki Krishna Swadamo Bhagate Dharma Jnana Dibisaha Kalo Nashta Dishamesha Paranako Dunodita Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. This morning we're reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 7, Text 3. Yage cha kardama-gṛhe dvija devahūtyāṁ strībhiḥ samam navabhir ātma-gatim sva-mātre yayātma-śamalam guṇa-saṅga-paṅkam asmin vidhūya kapilasya gatim prapede yajñe cha kardama-gṛhe dvija devahūtyāṁ strībhiḥ samam navabhir ātma-gatim sva-mātre yayātma-śamalam guṇa-saṅga-paṅkam asmin vidhūya kapilasya gatim prapede. Please chant. Matajis? No Matajis? Yajñe took birth. Cha also. Kardama, the Prajāpati named Kardama. Gṛhe, in the house of. Dvija, O brāhmaṇa. Devahūtyāṁ, in the womb of Devahūti. Strībhiḥ, by women. Samam, accompanied by navabhir, by 9, ātma-gatim, spiritual realization, sva-mātre, unto his own mother, uche, uttered, yayā, by which, ātma-śamalam, coverings of the spirit soul, guṇa-saṅga, associated with the modes of nature, paṅkam, mud, asmin, this very life, vidhūya, being washed off, kapilasya, of Lord Kapila, ātma-gatim, liberation, prapede, achieved. Translation: the Lord then appeared as the Kapila incarnation, being the son of the Prajāpati, brāhmaṇa, Kardama, and his wife Devahūti, along with 9 other women, sisters. He spoke to his mother about self-realization, by which, in that very lifetime, she became fully cleansed of the mud of the material modes, and thereby achieved liberation, the path of Kapila. Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The instructions of Lord Kapila to his mother Devahūti are fully described in the 3rd canto, chapters 25 to 32 of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and anyone who follows the instructions can achieve the same liberation obtained by Devahūti. The Lord spoke about Bhagavad Gita, and thereby Arjuna achieved self-realization. And even today, anyone who follows the path of Arjuna can also attain the same benefit as Sri Arjuna. The scriptures are meant for this purpose. Foolish, unintelligent persons make their own interpretations by imagination, and thus mislead their followers, causing them to remain in the dungeon of material existence. However, simply by following the instructions imparted by Lord Krishna or Lord Kapila, one can obtain the highest benefit, even today. The word ātma-gatim is significant in the sense of perfect knowledge of the Supreme. One should not be satisfied simply by knowing the qualitative equality of the Lord and the living being. One should know the Lord as much as can be known by our limited knowledge. It is impossible for the Lord to be known perfectly as He is, even by such liberated persons as Shiva or Brahma. So what to speak of other demigods or men in this world? Still, by following the principles of the great devotees and the instructions available in the scriptures, one can know to a considerable extent the features of the Lord. His Lordship Kapila, the incarnation of the Lord, instructed his mother fully about the personal form of the Lord, and thereby she realized the personal form of the Lord and was able to achieve a place in the Vaikuntha Loka where Lord Kapila predominates. Every incarnation of the Lord has his own abode in the spiritual sky. Therefore, Lord Kapila also has his separate Vaikuntha planet. The spiritual sky is not void. There are innumerable Vaikuntha planets, and in each of them, the Lord, by his innumerable expansions, predominates, and the pure devotees who are there also live in the same style as the Lord with his eternal associates. When the Lord descends personally or by his personal plenary expansions, such incarnations are called Angsha, Kala, Guna, Yuga, and Manvantara incarnations. And when the Lord's associates descend by the order of the Lord, such incarnations are called Shakti-vish incarnations. But in all cases, all the incarnations are supported by the invulnerable statements of authorized scriptures and not by any imagination of some self-interested propagandist. Such incarnations of the Lord in either of the above categories always declare the Supreme Personality of Godhead to be the ultimate truth. The impersonal conception of the Supreme Truth is just a process of negation of the forms of the Lord from the mundane conception of the Supreme Truth. The living entities, by their very constitution, are spiritually as good as the Lord, and the only difference between them is that the Lord is always supreme and pure, without contamination by the modes of material nature, whereas the living entities are apt to be contaminated by association with the modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance. This contamination by the material modes can be washed off completely by knowledge, renunciation, and devotional service. Devotional service to the Lord is the ultimate issue, and therefore those who are directly engaged in the devotional service of the Lord not only acquire the necessary knowledge in spiritual science, but also attain detachment from material connection, and are thus promoted to the kingdom of God by complete liberation, as stated in Bhagavad Gita, 14th chapter, verse 26. Mam chayo bibicharina bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatityayitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. Even in the non-liberated stage, a living entity can be directly engaged in the transcendental loving service of the personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, or his plenary expansions like Rama and Narasimha. Thus, with the proportionate improvement of such transcendental devotional service, the devotee makes definite progress towards brahma-gatim, or ātma-gatim, and ultimately attains kapilasya, or the abode of the Lord, without difficulty. The antiseptic potency of devotional service to the Lord is so great that it can neutralize the material infection even in the present life of a devotee. A devotee does not need to wait for his next birth for complete liberation. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vande Rupa Sanatano Raghujugo Shri Jiva Gopalako Vande Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityanando Sahodito Gododaye Pushpavanto Chitro Sando Tamonudo Yalachala Nivasaya Nityaya Paramatmane Balabhadra Subhadrabhyam Jagannataya Te Namaha Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namah Taptakanshana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Suti Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vrindaye Tosi Dibbaye Priyaye Keshavasya Cha Krishna Bhakti Pradi Devi Satyavachay Namo Nama Bansha Kopaturbyascha Kripa Sindhubheva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Nama. A devotee may think it curious that the Lord's mother is being instructed. She's eternal associate. How is it she requires instruction? The mother of Rama, Kaushalya, the mother of Mahaprabhu, Sachi Devi, Devaki, Yashoda, they're eternal associates. Are they in need of instruction? But for the edification of the conditioned souls, we find these instructions of Lord Kapila gracing the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam for our benefit. And his instructions are meant, as this verse is saying, to cleanse the mud of the influence of the modes of material nature. Because this is clearly muddy. Our consciousness has become muddy by association with the modes of nature. In the Bhagavad Gita we read, Satyam Brajastame iti guna prakriti sambhava nibadnanti mahabaho dehi dehinam avyayam. That the soul is by nature pure. Asangayaya purusha. The purusha, the soul, by nature is pure. But we've fallen into this conditioned life influenced by the modes of material nature, sattva, rajas, and tama, which is completely foreign, mud, from this point of view of the soul. So how to free ourselves from that? The process is to hear. As Devahūti is hearing from Kardama, our process is to hear about Krishna. This simple thing. Srila Prabhupada gave you an example. Because someone may say, just hearing? Such a simple thing? Open your ears and hear something? It's so easy? There's no great austerity, no sacrifice, no austerity, penance, tapasya. Just hear. Srila Prabhupada gave a nice example. He said just like not Ayurvedic, homeopathic medicine, they give you some little white sugar pills. Then just these sugar pills can help you? No bitter medicine? The sugar pills can also help you. Bitter medicine isn't always required. So our process begins with shravanam, to hear. We can understand our situation from the 5th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, text 1. Urdhva moolam adakshakam ashrutam prahur abhyayam chandamsi yasya parnani yastam veda savedavid. Lord describes that this material world is like a banyan tree with its roots up and its branches down. Now, have we ever seen such a tree in this world? Every tree we look outside, so many trees are there. Their roots are firmly in the ground and their branches are up. So where is it we see this tree with the roots up and the branches down? In the purport to this verse, Srila Prabhupada makes a beautiful explanation that we see this tree in the reflection in a reservoir of water. But that reflection is not the tree. Our disease is we think it's the tree. We think the reflection is the tree, that reality is the reflection. Whereas everything in this world is but a reflection of reality. For example, a mango. Is a mango a real mango? It's not a mango. It's a reflection of something real. It's a reflection of that which exists in the spiritual world. Gita says, asato vidyate bhavo nabhavo vidyate sada ubayor apindishtantas taniyas tattva-darshivi. Those who are tattva-darshi, who see things as they are, say that those things that are temporary have no real existence. And that which is eternal has real existence. So why is there a mango? Because such things exist in the kingdom of God. There's a mango tree in Goloka. And it's reflected here as a piece of cellulose and chlorophyll and sugar and bark and flowers and fruits and leaves. And we call it a mango tree. But it's not actually a mango tree. It's a reflection. Our disease is we think it's the real mango and we can enjoy it. But can you enjoy a reflection? Can you pick a mango from the reflection of a mango tree? Your hand will just get wet. You'll never actually touch what is a mango. But we think when we're eating mango, now I am tasting some delicious fruit. The whole procedure from beginning to end is illusion. We're putting the fruit in our mouth. Oh, very sweet, very tasty, delicious. I'll have another. Very, very sweet. But what is happening? You're putting some sugar on your tongue. Your tongue is registering sweet. It's synapse in your brain. You're tasting something sweet. I am enjoying. But it's your tongue. What connection does the soul have with the tongue? With this fleshy thing in our mouth? What connection does the soul have with this? Nothing. What connection does the soul have with sugar or juice of a mango? Nothing. So in this way we spend our whole life chasing the illusion of material life. This is the mud of material life. And we're all implicated in it because we think, I can enjoy this reflection. Where in reality, we're simply getting our hands wet and never actually tasting what is real. What is the real thing? What is the real tree? What is the real relationship? This is also another good example. Bhagavatam says, Pumsastaya mitini bhavametat tora hridaya granthamahu atakviha shetu sutakta vidya jannasya mohoyam ahamameti. The whole material creation is going on by Pumsa and Striya. Man and woman, cow and bull, male dog, female dog, male mosquito, female mosquito. The whole thing is going on Pumsa Striya, the attraction between male and female. But what is a male and what is a female? Because we get male body, we have male ahankar. I am the enjoyer. I am Purush. But when in actuality there's only one Purush and that's Krishna. This whole erotic principle of between men and women is the exclusive domain of Krishna. Nobody else. This is exclusive property. But everyone thinks, I am Purush. I am the enjoyer. Ishwaroham aham bhogi siddhoham balavan sukhi. We're simply entangled in this whole enmeshment, entanglement of material life by this Pumsa and Striya, which is complete illusion. Because I get a particular body, I think I'm a man. Someone gets another body, oh, I'm a woman. And society labels you in this way and we grow up thinking, I'm a man, I'm the enjoyer. This is illusion from beginning to end. So this is another feature of illusion. Ishwaroham aham bhogi siddhoham balavan sukhi. Ishwara, we think I am the controller. Who is the controller? Can we actually control? Can you make mangoes grow in December? Shout at the tree, now I want mango. Bring me mango. Will it come? It cannot come. Can you make the sun rise, the moon rise, the rain fall? Actually, there's a nice story. Srila Prabhupada was standing on his veranda, speaking with our godbrother Gurudas, one of his very early disciples. And Gurudas was telling Srila Prabhupada that the Dham Vasis, the Mayapur Vasis, are mostly farmers. And they're suffering because there's no rain, anavrishti. They're suffering, the crops are failing, and they're dependent upon these crops for rain, and there's no rain, Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada said, so let it rain. Within an hour, the clouds gathered, and a huge thunderstorm came down, buckets of rain, like inconceivable, so much rain came. Because Srila Prabhupada willed it. But you and I, we can't will the rain, we can't will the tree to produce mango, we can't will our heart to stop beating, our heart to breathing. We think we're controllers, but how much control do we have? We're sitting here, our heart is beating, we forget we have this muscle in our chest, and it's going dung dung, dung dung, dung dung, dung dung, and someday dung dung, dung dung, dung. Ho gaya, finish. And we're breathing also. Even while we're sleeping, heart is beating, lungs are breathing. Who is in charge? Are you making it go on? Such an intimate thing, our own heart and our own breathing apparatus is not under our control. But we think, Ishvaroham, I am the controller. Aham bhogi. Aham bhogi means I think I am the enjoyer. But Krishna is the only enjoyer. Bhoktaram jagatabasam sarvaloka maheshwaram. Suradam sarvabhutanam gyatva mam shanti michriti. If we want peace in our life, mental peace, equilibrium, satisfaction, peace of mind, as individuals, as nations, as on the world, on the planet, this principle has to be understood, that there's only one enjoyer, and it's not you, and it's not me. It's not America, it's not India, it's not Russia, it's not Ukraine, it's Krishna. Because he is Maheshwaram. Everything is his property. But we think, it is all here for me. I am the enjoyer, everything is meant for me. And we see this. Back to the mango tree. We have some mango trees growing, and people walk by and think, they're almost ripe, almost ripe. Maybe in a couple more weeks, I can sneak over here at night. And this is human greed. Gandhi used to say, there's always enough for man's need, but not enough for man's greed. If there's a bag of rice, a bird will come and take a few grains and fly away. But a man will think, let me take the whole bag and take it home. I'll get my bicycle, I'll throw it on the bicycle, I'll run home, I'll take the whole bag. Because we think, I am the enjoyer. This whole creation is meant for my pleasure. When it's not at all. It's the Lord's property. He is Maheshwaram. He's the controller, He's the proprietor, He's the creator. Every atom of the creation is His energy. Bhumira panalo vayo kammano buddhirevacha ahankara itayami binna prakritir ashta. It's His binna prakriti. It's His prakriti. It's not ours. Can we create a drop of milk, a grain of rice? With all our technology, we can put satellites in the sky and talk thousands of miles away with a little box, a little mobile phone, with the press of a button. Such technology has come to human society. But with all our technology, can we create one single grain of rice or one drop of milk? We're dependent. Nitya nityanam chaitanas chaitananam eko bahunam jo vidadati kaman. We're dependent, the bahunam, the many, are dependent on the grace of one who supplies us the necessities of life. So we take what we need. Ishava samidam sarvam jatkincha jagatam jagat tena chaktena bunchita magridaha kasyasvidanam. This is also peace formula. If this simple idea could be broadcast to the world, war stops tomorrow. But everybody thinks, this is my land. The whole fiasco, whole gruesome war that is going on in Ukraine. What are they fighting? They're fighting over stolen bread, stolen land. The land was there before there was ever Ukraine, before there was Russia. And now they're saying, no, this is my land, no, it's my land. And they're murdering and killing. And the whole world may be sucked into this catastrophe because of this misconception. They don't understand Ishavasim idam sarvam. Everything is controlled and owned by the Lord. It's His property. We are not enjoyers. So Ishwaraham, aham bhogi, siddhoham. Everyone thinks I'm perfect. This is the misconception. How can we be perfect? Because we have imperfect senses. Limited, imperfect senses. But we think, I'm perfect. How can we be perfect if we have imperfect information to deal with? How far can you see? How far can you smell, taste, smell, or touch? Very, very limited. Can we know what's going on the other side of the world? Can we know what's going on the other side of this building? What to speak, other side of the world? But we think, Siddhoham, I'm perfect. And this is, the whole material world is being misled by materialistic scientists who think we have the perfect answers to the problems of life. Material prosperity by science. Science has simply led whole human society into degradation because they think we have the perfect, with our senses, we've understood everything. We have our Hubble telescope and we've seen the universe. How many universes have they seen? How many have they seen? If they've actually seen. This is another thing. How much can they be trusted if they have imperfect senses? So, Ishwaraham aham bhogi siddhoham balavan. People think, I'm very powerful. I always get a laugh when I'm in one of the larger cities here in India and I see these weightlifting rooms. They want to make their biceps great big like this. And they wear a tight shirt and they walk around like this, very tough. I'm a tough guy now. I lift weight. How strong are you? One little mosquito can ruin your day. Encephalitis, dengue, chikungunya, malaria, influenza, not influenza, what is that? Anyway, so many diseases are distributed by tiny little mosquito. He's thinking, I'm a tough guy. But one little mosquito can bring you down and make you suffer like a dog. One big weightlifter guy who was an enthusiastic jogger and natural foods, organic foods type guy, was out jogging. Tough guy, out jogging. He tripped on the sidewalk and died. How tough is he? Our body is very fragile. Even a strong body is very fragile, but people think, I'm very powerful. Balavan Sukhi. And because I'm perfect, powerful, and happy, I'm full of so much knowledge, Sukhi, I'm very happy. But who is actually happy? This is another illusion in life. People don't have the truthfulness to speak, actually, I am suffering in this world. Even you go, some guy's lying in a hospital bed, and there's a tube coming in and out of every orifice in his body, and you ask him, how are you? I'm okay. I'm okay. He won't say, I'm suffering like a dog. He'll say, I'm okay. I'm okay. Nobody is honest enough to say, I'm actually suffering in this material world. They want to present the facade, the false face of happiness. Everything's good. But Krishna says, this is dukkhalayam, ashashvatam. Everyone has to suffer here. And we can't stay. But people spend their whole life simply to make this world sukhalayam shashvatam. I will be very happy and I will live here forever. So in this way we become entangled in this tree that is described in the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. What is the solution? To hear. This simple thing, to hear about Krishna. And there are many beautiful shlokas in Srimad Bhagavatam that will encourage us in this way. In the 2nd chapter, Shuta Goswami says, Shrangatam swakata Krishna punya shravana kirtana hridyantastoya bhadrani vidunoti suritsatam. That just by hearing about Krishna, 3 wonderful things happen. First, we become knowledgeable. Krishna says, Manmana bhava madbhakto, you think of me. How we think of Krishna if we have no knowledge of Krishna? If I say, Mishra Bhagavan Prabhu, please tell me about my brother. You'll say, well, he's a guy. But what more can you say? You never met my brother. I never described my brother to you. What can you say about my brother? Because you have no knowledge of my brother. So the first installment of mercy we get from studying Shastra is knowledge. We understand the gun, rup, lila, nam, parikar, all the name, quality, forms, activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. What He looks like, where He lives, what He does. This is the most precious knowledge that we get from Srimad Bhagavatam. Ask any religious person, what is the form of God? say, well, God has no form. Most people say he has no form. It's haram to say God has form. Or they say, oh, he's sitting on a cloud up in the sky, he's playing a harp, and he's like a universal scorekeeper. I saw you do that. Oh, I saw you do that, good for you. That was bad, then like a universal keeping score of your life, your pap and your punya, your sins and your piety. This is God's business. He's sitting in a cloud somewhere. What does he look like? What does he do? What does he eat? What does he wear? Who are his friends? What is his abode like? No one has any information about this, confidential information about God, because they never read Srimad Bhagavatam. Is God naked? He's wandering around naked. He has no clothes. If he has clothes, what kind of clothes does he wear? They don't know, because it's not in your scripture. Does he have friends, or nobody likes him? He's wandering around lonely, suffering because nobody likes him and wants to be with him. If he has friends, what kind of friends does he have? Srimad Bhagavatam tells us. Where does he live? Is he some bhikkhari, beggar, wandering the street with a bag on his shoulder, picking up pieces of plastic because he doesn't have a place to live? If he has a place to live, what kind of place is it? Srimad Bhagavatam tells us. What kind of food does he eat? Is he starving? He has no food to eat. He's supplying food for the universe, for billions of universes, but he has no food to eat. What kind of food does he eat? Srimad Bhagavatam tells us. Other religions have no access to this confidential knowledge of the personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, Govinda, Yashumati Nandana Brajabara Nagara, Gokula Ranjana Kana. Most confidential knowledge about the personality of Godhead is available to those persons who study Srimad Bhagavatam. So this is the first installment. We become knowledgeable. But just by hearing, this type of hearing has special power. Abhadrani, the unnatural condition of our heart is changed. Lust, greed, envy, fear, anger, all these things are removed from our heart. Abhadrani, vidhūti suritsatam, just by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. There's spiritual power in the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam. Idam Bhagavatam nama, Purana Brahma Samitam, Uttama Shloka Charitam Chakara Bhagavan Rishi, Nishvayasaya Lokasya, Danyam Swastyanam Mahat. This Bhagavatam is not different from Krishna himself. It's incarnation of the Lord. Everyone knows the deity is made of, he appears in the form of stone, of metal, of wood. This is Lord appearing in the form of paper and ink. Purana Brahma Samhita means directly the Supreme Lord. We can worship Bhagavatam with 16 upachars because he's Krishna. So when we contact Krishna by the sound vibration of Srimad Bhagavatam, all the inauspicious things in our heart are removed. And the third and most important thing, when we read Srimad Bhagavatam, when we hear about Krishna, Krishna thinks, this person wants to come close to me, and he personally takes interest in that devotee. He personally takes interest because the devotee is hearing about him. Such is the power of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. Next verse says, Tada rajasno nashta prayesha badreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavayuttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. We become fixed in devotion. The pain in our heart, the frustration in our heart is removed. And we become fixed in devotion by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. Tadavrajastamo bhava kamalubhadayaschaye chaita itayaranavidam stitam sattve prasidati. We become free from lust and anger and greed, all the modes of material nature, the mud that is being referred to here. How do we become free from the mud? By hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. And we stitam sattve prasidati. Because unless we come to sattva gun, how will we make progress in spiritual life? This is the taking off, the departure zone in Krishna Bhakti. If you want to fly, from Kolkata to Delhi, where do you have to go? You have to go to the airport. You have to go to the departure zone. So Sattva Guna is the departure zone for Krishna Bhakti. Stitam Sattve Prasidati, from that zone we become satisfied. Evam Prasanna Manaso Bhagavad Bhakti Yogada Bhagavad Tattva Vijnanam Mukta Sangasya Jayate, we become free from the influence of the modes of material nature, from the mud of material life, just by reading Srimad Bhagavatam. So Prabhupada said, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. We should hear every day, not Bhagavat Sapta. Not Bhagavat Sapta. Of course, we also, in ISKCON, we also have very powerful speakers who are doing Bhagavat Sapta. Why? Just to push the Mayavadis out of the way, because these nonsense people who have no interest, no realization of Krishna, they also do Bhagavat Sapta. Even the Mayavadis do Bhagavat Sapta. So better we do it than they do it, because at least a devotee has some realization, some feeling for Krishna, appreciation. This is the story, this is the Leela of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So better we do it than they do it. But Bhagavat means Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. We have to hear every day. And what is the result? Yasyam va shuyamananam Krishna paramapurushe bhakti utpadyate pumsa shoka moha bhayapaha. Just by hearing shuyamananam, bhakti rises in our heart. What else we want in life? Is there a greater achievement? Is there anything better? Is there anything more satisfying? Bhakti utpadyate, bhakti rises in our heart. And shoka moha bhayapaha. We become free from lamentation, fear, and illusion. Just by hearing Shuyamananam, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. So this is our situation. This is our sadhana, is to hear from the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam. Shrotavyadini rajanda rinam shanti sahasrasa apashyatam ātma-gattim griheshu grihamedinam. Unfortunate persons, materialistic persons, have thousands of other things to talk about. Isn't it? Anyone who's ever worked out in the material world will know. They talk about their dog, their cat, their girlfriend, their boyfriend, what movie they watched, what they did in the weekend, what they ate, where they went, their vacation, their mother, their father, their children. They talk about hundreds of thousands of things, but they'll never say anything about God. They have many thousands of things to talk about. Why? Ātma-tattvam is missing. Knowledge of the self is missing. They have no understanding of what is the Atma, what is the self. They're completely devoid of any true understanding of the self. So there's another section in Bhagavatam that describes the glories of Bhagavatam, of hearing. There it said, a similar verse, Shundatam shradaya nityam gunatascha chuchestitam kalena nati dirgena bhagavan vishate vridi. That if one seriously hears Srimad Bhagavatam, the personality of Godhead manifests himself in your heart. Someone may say, well, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Sarvasya chaham Ishvara sarvabhutanam. He's present in their heart. What do you mean? He manifests. We develop relationship, personal relationship. He manifests his presence in our heart personally by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. Next verse says, Pravishta karna randrena swanam bhava saroruham donoti samalam Krishna salilasya yatashara. Karna randrena means through the ear. How do we see God? Not with our eye. Everyone wants to see God with their eye. He's adhoksaja. Aksaja jnana means what we can perceive, the knowledge we get from our eyes. This is all imperfect knowledge. If we want to see God, how do we see Him? With our ear. Tam bhakti yoga paribhavata ritsaroja shrutekshata means we see God through our ear, karna randrena. And by that, He enters our ear and enters the loving relationship and sits in the lotus of our own relationship. And one of the 5 rasas, and Shanta ras, Dasya ras, Sakya ras, Vatsalya ras, Madhurya ras, simply by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. And all the inauspicious things, shalilasya yatasharat, all the inauspicious things are washed away from our heart, as in the autumn season, the rains wash away all pools of muddy water. This is the effect of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. Next verse is, Dotatma Purusha Krishna Padamulam Namunshati Mukta Sarva Pare Klesha Panta Swasharanam Yata. And if one comes to that stage, he can never give up the lotus feet of Krishna. Padamunshati. Becomes fixed in devotional life. Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. He's fixed as devotee at the lotus feet of Krishna just by hearing. And the feeling of that relation, and mukta sarva pari kleshta, becomes free from all anxieties of life, all the dualities of life, the frustrations of life, simply by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. And panta swasharanam yata, he feels like a traveler. Prabhupada gives the example in the purport that as a traveler may visit the mountains, the cities, and struggling to accumulate wealth, and working hard, struggling hard, suffering, but when he comes home, he feels relieved of all the anxieties of life. So panta swasharanam yata means when one comes home to Krishna Bhakti, he feels relieved of all the anxieties of life. This is the result. Hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. All our anxieties are removed, our real identity is awakened, and we become free from this illusory tree, this illusory banyan tree we call material life. This is the ABCs of material life, how to come actual spiritual life, which means Brahmabhuta stage, Brahmabhuta prasanatma nasochati nakangshati. Samasarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labhate param. How to become free from the mud of the modes of material nature that is being spoken of in this verse. To come to a spiritual platform. Spiritual platform is no joke. Prasanatma. Prasanatma means always happy, never depressed, never disturbed, never lusty, greedy, envious. Always satisfied in yourself, seeing every living being as your best friend, samasarveshu bhuteshu, loving the world, loving the inhabitants of this world, free from the dualities of life, na kankshati, no hankering, no lamentation. This is, devotional life begins at this. That's a very high platform. Brahmabhuta platform is very high platform. But mad bhaktim labhate param. From this platform you get my bhakti. We should not misunderstand. Sometimes we see people, they act the part of a great devotee. They wear their dhoti in a special way and have big rudraksha, or not, big tulsi mala, jata, big tilak, very charismatic speaker, singing very nice bhajan, speaking sweet Krishna Leela, sweet Harikatha. But sometimes we examine their life, and their life is very different from the external presentation of what they believe themselves to be. So there's a standard. And this is mad bhaktim labhate param. Come first to Brahmabhuta platform. Don't jump. If you want to taste the sweetness of Krishna Bhakti, then deal with anartha nivriti. Cross over anartha nivriti, otherwise simply is all cheating. Pure cheating. Sometimes people talk about the very high ecstasies of spiritual life, manjari bhav, sakhi bhav, radhe radhe. They're doing radhe radhe, but radhe radhe, radhe radhe. This is going on also. Or sometimes I was in Radhakund one time, I have a friend that lives there. I'm looking, when gopi is there, but the gopi had long choti, had kankan, had sari, cotton is stuffed here, but gopi had 5 o'clock shadow. Gopi needed a shave. Is this what it means to become gopi? To taste rasa? Is Krishna attracted to a sack, a body bag, a sack of muscles and blood and skin and flesh and bones and tendons and nerves? Is this attractive to Krishna? If I dress my body like a gopi, I can get Krishna. I can be a gopi by dressing my body like a gopi. Is it possible? It's impossible. There's a standard, and it begins brahma-bhuta prasannatma, anartha nibriti. Get over lust and greed and anger and fear and envy. Then it's possible. Anartha nibriti isn't our prayojana. Don't get stuck in anartha nibriti. It's not our prayojana. Artha pravritti is our prayojana. Love of God, prema pumartha mahan. This is our actual objective in life. This is what we want. This is why we practice anartha nibriti. That's why we want to become free from the influence of material nature. That's why we want to become free from the mud of material nature. That's why we hear about Krishna. We have this objective, to become free from the influence of the modes of material nature, so that we can taste, actual taste, what is rasa, what is ruchi, what is bhava. If you don't cross anartha nibriti, it is impossible. So we should take note of that very carefully here, Srimad Bhagavatam, and make progress in life. And at the end, Tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mamiti sarjana. Go back to Godhead. Such a simple thing. And it's all based on this simple, simple process. Open your ears and pour in the nectar of Krishna Katha from the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam. And this is another important point, actually. When we read Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada's purports, we sing every morning, Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chiteti Koriya Aikya, Arna Koriya Manayasha. That let the words emanating from the lotus mouth of his spiritual master cleanse my consciousness. Let my heart become one with his words. What are his words? Srila Prabhupada didn't write Bhagavatam with a pen and paper. He spoke Bhagavatam. So when we read his purports, we're as good as sitting in the same room with Srila Prabhupada, as he wrote in the purport. If you hear Bhagavad Gita, you're as good as Arjuna. If you hear the instructions of Kapila, you're as good as Devahūti. And if you hear Prabhupada's purports, you're as good as sitting in the room hearing directly from the mouth of Srila Prabhupada, because he spoke these purports. He didn't write them with pen and paper. So let us all be more firm in our conviction, be more enthusiastic to hear Srila Prabhupada's wonderful purports, cleanse our heart, make progress to the ultimate goal of life. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Anyone has any comment or question?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you very much for your wonderful class. You mentioned that there is no need for devahūti to hear Bhagavatam or to hear from Kapila Dev. This is all pastime of the Lord. And plus, you mentioned solution of the difficulties that we go through the material world. But yet we see that even devotees has to face accident, has to suffer from cancer, has to suffer from COVID-19. So how can we, is this argument from people, how can we help them to understand actually?
Why do you think those sufferings are there? I'll ask you. Why do devotees suffer? Why do devotees suffer? Have we made some offense and Krishna is making us suffer because of our offense? No. Krishna makes this world dukkhalayam-ashashtatam for a particular reason. What do you think that is? So we don't want to stay here. Krishna wants us to be back with him in his kingdom. He's waiting for us, waiting for every one of us. When will you come back? Jiv jago, Gora Chandra bole, Kota nida jao maya pisha chirakule. When will you wake up? When you give up the lap of the witch called Maya? When? So a little impetus is there. Birth, death, janma, mrityu, jara, vyadhi. Birth, death, old age and disease, cancer, COVID, accidents, electrocution, drowning, murder. This is the nature of this world. Just because, oh, I'm a devotee, I've transcended it all. Look at the most beloved associates of the Pandavas. Did the Pandavas have a trouble-free life? Did Devaki have a trouble-free life? Mother Yashoda went blind crying for Krishna. Gopis, always crying for Krishna. Devotee life doesn't mean that I've come to you, Krishna, and I'll make my material life trouble-free. This is a place of trouble. Dukhalayam ashashvatam. So when trouble comes, Kunti Maharani prayed for trouble. Vipada santata Krishna sattva tattva tattva jagat goro bhavato darshanam yatsat apunar bhava darshanam. He said, give me more trouble. All the troubles were listed in the previous verse. Then she said, give me more trouble, because when I see trouble, I see you. And when I see you, apunar bhava darshanam, I don't see repeated birth and death. So give me more trouble. Anybody want to pray for more trouble? Volunteers? Volunteers? No? No. We don't have to pray for it. It will come. Guaranteed. It will come. But when it comes, we think, thank you, Krishna. Thank you. Thank you for happiness. Thank you for distress. Thank you for everything. And then we become qualified to leave this world when we understand what it is. We understand what is this tree, this banyan tree of material existence, this illusory tree that we've been entangled in, birth after birth after birth. So devotees get cancer, yes. Devotees die in accidents. Devotees have been murdered. Everyone has their cause of death. In due course of time, everyone has an expiry date. Especially Prabhupada disciples, we're endangered species. Look around and there's two of us here. Mishra Bhagavan Prabhu. Jivanuga Prabhu. Is that okay?
Thank you, Prabhuji, for nice class. Prabhuji, here in the purport, it is written that when the Lord descends personally or by his personal plenary expansions, such incarnations are called Angsha, Kala, Guna, Juga, Manmantar. Prabhuji, would you please explain the example of Angsha and Kala, and it is different, how it is different, Angsha and Kala?
Krishna says in Gita, Eche Sankala Ete Chansakala Pungsa Krishna Stu Bhagavan Swayam Indrari Vyakulam Lokam Ridayanti Yuge Yuge. The third chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, first canto. All the avatars are explained. Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, Nishinga, Rama, Balarama, Buddha, Kalki. Many incarnations are described there. And it says, Ete Cha Angsa. These are Kala, Angsa, and Kala. Fragment of me, a fragment of a fragment of me. But Krishna Stu Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Swayam Rup Bhagavan. Original personality. Govinda Mahadi Purusham Tam Maham Bhajami. So we worship Krishna. Original Krishna. Govinda. Madhava. Yashomati Nandan. Muralidhar. Vamshidhar. Many beautiful names of Krishna that are laden with prema. We don't chant names Paramatma, Parameshwar, Bhagwan. These are generic names of God. We chant these names, Yashomati Nandana, Brajabharanagara, Gokula Ranjana, Kana. Affectionate, loving names of the Lord. These names give us prema. The names of Swayam Rup Bhagavan. Other names, other avatars are mentioned. They're Angsa and Kala. And especially worship Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Parama Korona Pahudi Jananitai Gora Chanda Saba Avatar Sar Shiromani Kevala Ananda Kanda. That he's Saba Avatar Shiromani. He's a crest jewel of all incarnations because he gave what no other incarnation gave. Rama never gave prema. Matsya, Kurma, Varaha gave prema. Impossible. They can give liberation, but they cannot give, they can give residence in their abode. Prabhupada explained in the purport. One can go back to Kapila's abode. Kapila Muni has his own Vaikuntha planet. But Mahaprabhu is giving prema to go back Goloka Vrindavan, topmost planet. Goloka namni nija namni chale tatasya, topmost planet. This is a gift of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Krishna prema pradayate. This is a gift of Mahaprabhu. So we have academic interest in these other avatars. But our heart's interest should be Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Radha Govinda. We're Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Other persons, like they're doing Nishinga Jagya out here. I was fortunate, I got Nishinga Jagya. But why do we worship Nishinga Dev? He's Vaikuntha deity. He's not Swayamrup Bhagavan, he's avatar. Why do we worship him? Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, I'm rolling outside the temple of Lord Nishingadev to remove all these anarthas in my heart so I'm qualified to approach Radha Krishna. So we should understand these things academically and fix our mind on worship of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nitai Gaur, and Radha Govinda, and at the end go back to Goloka Vrindavan. Thank you very much for your nice question. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.